So what we've built here is essentially a tabletop industrial machine simulating trainer. It functions very similarly to just any typical machine. It has a process it can run through. You can stop it, you can start it, you can jog it, you can home the machine, you can e-stop the machine. We're interlocked. It's very analogous to what our operators see on the floor. And the point here really was born from trying to convey the difference between these two buttons here. Although they're both red, although they both have the word stop, they're functionally different. This is a cycle stop. It's labeled as a cycle stop, whereas this is an emergency stop. And I have found through talking with our operators, even with our supervisors and various managers, people don't always know the difference here. And we want to especially make sure that anyone interacting with our machines is very clear on how their machine works and when one of those buttons is more appropriate over the other. So this gives us a chance to put a machine in front of somebody, let them touch it, let them push buttons, not be afraid of damaging anything, hurting anybody, hurting themselves, getting in trouble, nothing like that. Just give them some time to become familiar and understand the machine. There's some documentation here kind of explaining what these buttons are, what their typical uses are, similar for the tower light, the general function of that. What are those things that it's trying to tell you? Just to familiarize folks with the basics. So the operators are then instructed, through a quiz essentially, to walk through this machine. So let's say we'll home. You can see how we can jog. If I press a jog button, I can expect motion. If I home, I can probably expect motion. I see my tower light is telling me things about the state of my machine. I can press the start button. And I can see my machine is iterating through a process and it completes that process. It's gonna hang out for a second and then it's gonna start that process over again. It's gonna iterate through and it's gonna continue through that cycle continuously until I press that stop button. Now it's not going to stop, or it's not going to start. However, if I were to press that cycle stop button while that process is running, it's still going to try to finish. So only after it finished the cycle did the machine stop. Now in the real world, sometimes these cycles are very short. Sometimes that motion is much faster, or it's not moving as far and it's not so clear that the machine is still cycling. But we wanted to slow everything down, make it very visual, so that those interacting with this machine really get a clear picture as to what that is doing. We also have a plunger here, so we can jam our machine. We can induce that. Now this is going to be a little noisy, but I'm going to start my cycle again. I'm going to jam the machine, and once it's jammed, I'm going to press cycle stop. And I'm going to see what happens. Does my machine stop after pressing that cycle stop? It knows that I pressed the cycle stop. It tells me that it knows, but it's still trying to move. And if I clear that jam, it does continue to move. It gets to the end of that cycle, and what does it do? It stops. It did exactly what I told it to. But if I have a jam, I might not want it to move, the moment I clear that jam. Now it's safe for me to clear that jam. I don't have motion there. Now I still need to be aware of stored energy. Just because I hit my e-stop, You know, that doesn't mean that steam doesn't exist, that gravity doesn't exist, that, you know, there's all these potentially hidden energy sources that may still be active, but I do get distinctly different behavior here. And I can see that I can reset my machine. I can see how all my buttons work here. Start it again. I see how my interlock is expected to work. So we think this is a good kind of intro to industrial machines, demystifying the big red button. We don't want people to be afraid of pressing that. We want everybody to have pressed the big red button at some point, you know, before they get onto the floor, so that they fully understand that this is a tool for them to keep them safe. You're not going to blow the world up by pressing that. And yeah, that's what we've got.